Hustle Guy here, and I'm back with an update of my health. And I don't know how long this video has, but I'm going to try to get through some pretty, extensive stuff as quickly as I can. It's probably been a few months since my last health update with the fibroids, which I turned to find out that they're basically fibroids that are growing on my nerves. So my nerves are damaged, and that all came from something that I found out months ago, almost a year ago, that I had optical nerve damage, and I didn't find MS. I was told that optical nerve damage didn't come along, that it usually came with other nerve damage. So it kind of sent me on this search to start looking at my nervous system, and then I started to notice that a lot of the symptoms and the things that I was dealing with, even the diagnosis of IBS and CES, were considered to be symptoms of the nervous system disease. So I started to look at diseases for the nervous system, and then that in conjunction with my inability to walk, and with the way that it was almost hard to stop the pain. The pain is almost, there's no ability almost to stop the pain. Even with a large amount of pain medicine, sometimes it just allows you to sleep through the pain. So I'm using the hot soak in the tub. That was one way to get through the pain. So I started to look more into my legs because I was losing my mobility more and more. And so what I wanted to try to find out was that maybe through some type of imaging, I could prove that I had nerve damage elsewhere in my body. So because I'm a radiographer, I was able to dig up a MRI order that I had, and able to get that order scannable, and was able to get an abdomen pelvis. And during that abdomen pelvis scan, there was indication of lumbar dysfunction, or a lumbar structure dysfunction. And so there was a referral to do more extensive study on the lumbar, which I fought and had to fire one doctor because they wouldn't order it. And I got a new doctor, and he immediately, when I took him the first MRI at abdomen pelvis, he immediately ordered a complete MRI of the spine. And what's been found is that I have a bulging disc in my C spine and 2 in my L spine, I believe. Some insignificant extrusions in the thoracic spine, which is in the middle. It's pretty hard for those discs to bulge. Some disc-desiccation from my C spine to C spine 6. Also a disc extrusion in my cervical spine. So with that being, a lot of the things that I was experiencing made sense for me to dig down into my nervous system. And with all of the nodules and fibroids and things that I was feeling, it all made sense when it came to understanding. And I got the results of the MRI back that I had significant trauma damage to my spine. And the lumbar spine is significant because you have a lot of your root nerves that run from your spine down to your lower extremities. And once those are closed off or impinged, then you can start to experience muscle problems and mobility, range of motion issues down in your lower extremities, leading to the loss of getting up and moving as much. And those are the things that you kind of need to do to stay healthy. And I guess that's kind of how I was able to maintain my health throughout all this. I didn't know that my spine was deteriorating, so I had maintained pushing myself. And so basically that's why I kept having such hard shutdowns, is because I was pushing myself, and every day that I would have pain and I had something to do, the next day I needed to do or wanted to do, I would push myself through the pain. And so once I got the first MRI about the abdomen pelvis, I found out that there was a lumbar extrusion, a lumbar disc extrusion, I immediately started going on weight bearing so that I could reduce the amount of pressure to my spine. And that was only about 2 months ago. So I've only been doing that about 2 months, and I've already had significant health improvement elsewhere in my body. I still am unable to use my bowels, but the nerve fibroids are not growing as fast, and they're not growing as much. I have to lie down a lot to decrease the pressure on my nerves. And so basically what was happening before is that my bowels went out because the S nerve root down there where my bowels work from, that nerve was impinged, and so I wasn't pooping for a couple of years and at a good rate, and it allowed a lot of toxins and sewage to build up in my lymphatic system, and so I was becoming immunosuppressed just due to these conditions that are indirectly related to the spinal injury. But because of that, and because of the fact that at times I was immobile and lying down and not walking, not known that I had spinal injury, but just knowing that I had issues with mobility, lying down for long periods of time out of the sun, getting deprived of significant vitamins from the sun, not walking around and moving those muscles, leading to muscle wasting, which is why I was able to go down to 90 pounds and blood pressure wasn't high enough to keep me going, having a lot of orthostatic intolerance. Every time I would get in hot water, I would almost faint. With the cyclical vomiting syndrome, the eating and the digestive part of that working, irritating the nerves near that structures and causing me to feel nauseated when I ate and tried to consume food. And then up here in the cervical spine, leading to me feeling the chest pains like angina and a heart attack, like something was always hugging tight on my chest. So all of these different injuries were causing all of these different nerve system aberrations that I was experiencing differently. So it was just like all of these different things going on at once, and it was almost impossible to pin it down. And I had x-rays of my hip that didn't show any injury, and I had ultrasound of my neck that didn't show anything, but those two modalities were not efficient for the type of injury that I was looking for. So had I had MRI in the beginning of those things, I would have found this out a couple of years ago, saved myself a little more deterioration and a lot of more trauma. This desiccation is basically analogous, or you can compare that to your knees. You got your ligament, your ACL in your knees. You know, you don't want to, the disc in your knees is just the same as the disc in your back. So the fluids of those discs in my back are basically just dehydrating, and the fluids are leaking out, causing to more structural damage and over time. And I just kind of drew a quick picture of a spine here. Your C-spine's up here with about 7 vertebrae, and your lumbar spine's here with about 12 vertebrae, 2 floating vertebrae, and your connect from your thoracic spine, T-spine, thoracic spine, and you have your spinal cord ends at the thoracic spine, and your root nerves start to come out from the L spine, the lumbar spine, which is your middle back, which is what we actually call the back, the lower back, and the thoracic spine is what we call the upper back. And then below that you have your tailbone, or your sacrum and coccyx, or we call it the coccygeal. And then from there you have your sciatic nerves and your S1 root nerves coming from the L4, L5, S1 junction. And so basically what I have to do, and how I kind of came about all this as well, is someone was making fun of me and gave me a walker to walk on because I was having a little bit of time with mobility, and I stood up on the walker and I felt my spine stretch out, and that is when I kind of set myself on the path of kind of thinking that I had to go after that. And it was me getting that abdomen pelvis MRI that led to me finding the doctor to get the rest of the lumbar, the rest of my spine looked at, and leading to me finally getting some type of resolution and a very significant update in my health. The next thing is to determine if this was caused by traumatic emphasis, falling, car accidents, strenuous things over stress over time, or is it a part of a congenital disease that I was born with that causes the spine and the disc to dehydrate, and a degenerative disc disease at a rapid rate at an early age and an early stage. So I'm very, very happy to give you guys that update date. Very happy to say that I am doing much, much better. As long as I stay off of my back, I don't have as many spasms, I don't have as many nervous system shutdowns, I can kind of keep up with my hair and other little things. I've learned how to have a lot more of a creative outlet. So instead of keeping my mind focused on the pain, I don't take a lot of pain medicine. What I do is do my creative outlet to create YouTube content. I do music. I'm writing a book right now. I do motivational speaking. I do web design. I write a blog. So I have my kids. I have my social media, and I have my life after that. And my research. I'm always doing research. So I kind of keep myself busy with a lot of stuff. And that's what I really want to say. I just want to keep you guys updated on what I've got going on. Keep me in your prayers. Please subscribe to my channel so I can start going live. I have so much more to bring to you guys in the future. Thanks for your support. Spread love.